Do you believe water fluoridation is ethical?
No,
Why?
because it's forced medication. People are entitled to have healthy water, not medicated water.
Should water fluoridation be put to a vote by the people?
Yes, it often is, and mostly they come out opposed to fluoridation, and the authorities that are conducting the poll then take the notice of the established wisdom, which in a few countries like ours says that fluoridation is harmless.
Should it be banned outright?
Yeah, it should be stopped immediately,
Why?
because it's doing more harm than good, and probably no good. Fluoridation is not scientific, it's a commercial interest which we have no obligation to at all. We should be putting our priorities to humanity, not to those few governments that are being persuaded by commercial interests.
What would you say to young people that are learning about this issue and feel frustrated that they're not able to make changes?
Well, they could talk to their dentist or doctor, and that probably won't give them much joy. But they might get somebody that's willing to listen and look, and perhaps if they looked on the internet, Fluoride alert, that would be the best way to start to become informed. Then they can start informing the older generation.
Researchers now acknowledge that fluoride's mechanism is topical, not systemic. That is, it has to be applied to the surface of the teeth, not swallowed. In light of this admission, Doug, what do you think of the notion of forcing it into public water supplies? Where is the logic in forcing a systemic intake of a topical treatment?
There's no logic. There's no logic in forcing it. There was an argument earlier on that it was safe and effective. In fact, they said it was one of the greatest health breakthroughs of the 20th century. 40 to 60% of decay was going to disappear with fluoridation. Now the figures are coming home to roost. They're finding that it has no sure effect, or at least an equivocal effect as water fluoridation on putting a stronger coating on enamel, on tooth enamel. At least that's only one tooth in a lifetime might be saved if it exists, if that is a true finding. But there is no they've gone back on their earlier claim that there was no evidence of harm, and now they're saying there's no unequivocal evidence. What they forget to add is that means that they need to do more testing to confirm the harmful results that have come out of surveys, but they're only interested in doing surveys that prove fluoridation's good. The people that control the money banks to research, they're nearly all confined to dental research and positive findings for fluoride.
Doug, you were a politician of quite high standing in Australia as a health minister. You now are retired. When you reflect back on your time in politics, is there any regrets you have, or anything that you were really proud of with regard to the way you handled fluoridation?
I don't know whether I'm real proud of it, but I thought I did what was right in not condemning and abusing people who disagreed with me, but arguing that when people wrote to me about fluoridation as health minister, I always replied saying that there was a need for confirmation of possible harmful effects of fluoridation that had never been answered. And I put this in my answers to constituents. But like most ministers, most of the replies to constituents were drafted first by somebody in the public service, and most of the drafts came back saying that fluoridation was harmless and effective. So I always used to send those back. I'm proud that I sent them back, but I'm not proud that I should have perhaps spoken out more loudly. I went to the World Health Organization Assembly in Geneva in 1982.
Stop the tape. Doug rang me shortly after filming to correct himself. He visited the World Health Organization in 1975. In 1982, Doug visited New York as parliamentary advisor for the United Nations Australian delegation.
And the vote was in favour of fluoridation. I didn't speak out against it at that stage because of what I used to write to these constituents, that there was still need for confirmation, that there was unequivocal evidence, and I wanted unequivocal evidence. So I didn't take a stand at the WHO, which perhaps I should have. That's as near as I come to a regret, I guess.
And what are you particularly proud of now, as you stand at this point in your life? What would you like to perhaps encourage other ministers, how they could look at this issue in a more positive light?
Yes, I'd tell them not to be persuaded by the fact that your party or your country or your government or your language group favours fluoridation. Start looking at what benefits humanity, not what benefits your group, your professional association. Look at the real researchers, the people who are actually doing the research and finding the things that need unravelling and sorting out. Well, the profession is waking up to the fallacies of fluoride promotion. It's rhetoric, not science. We need the profession, all profession, health professionals, teachers and researchers, to look at the things from the objective point of view and not to the political and rhetoric point of view.
I've been a GP for 39 years. People often ask me how I got involved, and I have to sort of tongue-in-cheek tell them that I've never been in favour of poisoning people.
If you were a doctor, if you were somebody who was interested in nutrition, and you had a look at the science, and you actually found that there were so many papers that you hadn't been told about, and so many